Hello, my wonderful wolf pack, and welcome to another episode of Dawnbringer SMP lore. And in this one, yep, you YouTube folk get another exclusive one. This one takes place just a few days after Star decides not to stay with the Snow Queen. That whole solo lore that I did. So, I hope you all enjoy. Star reads through her notes on the Snow Queen, stressed at the lack of answers she has. Her tail is curled around her in comfort, and her ears randomly twitch in an attempt to relieve her stress. Leo is curled up on her lap, purring away while asleep. She idly scratches Leo as a form of stress relief and sighs. I want to know what the heck these wards even do. I know that they keep the Snow Queen out and may kill Jet when activated, but nothing else. These are one of my biggest hurdles when trying to understand the situation. Maybe the library at Spawn has some answers. Leo jumps down as Star gets up and heads for the ladder. She grabs him and carries him up. Once at the main floor, she sets him down and tells Cassiopeia to follow her. Come on, Cassio. We're going to the library. Cassie barks and follows Star to the minecart for another ride to Spawn. Once they get to the library, Star steps inside and looks for a book on the wards. Finding nothing on the first floor, she moves to the second, then the third. She growls lightly in frustration. Is there no book on the wards? I just want to understand these things. Cassiopeia paws at Star and she kneels down to pet him to relieve some of her frustration. Sorry. She was behind Star, despite there being no sound or indication she had ever moved there. Perhaps she was there the whole time, silently leaning on the wall, reading a book that said Avians and Their Corruption by Alvin Nod. She turned the page, never looking up from her book. I've stashed them in my room for easy access. Are you looking for something specific? Star jumped up, startled, but calmed down once she saw that it was Yonk. Yes, but maybe it's better if I pick your brain about them first. Last time we spoke, all you really said about them was that they can keep the Snow Queen out of this plane. How do they do that? Do they hurt her? Do they block out her specific magic type? How does that work? She readied her book in Quill to write down the information. She said, closing the book, clearly interested in talking, more so than usual. Just her magic. See, everyone has sort of a magical fingerprint. A sort of frequency. Kind of. A mix of every magic culminating to make them. Their soul. She tapped her chest. Once the wards are charged, I'll tune them up a little to a frequency that is near to hers. Not perfect. One can't perfectly replicate it, but enough that the wards will target that magic like a heat-seeking missile. Sort of. If she puts her magic into this plane, she said, tipping her head left, then right, and points idly toward Star's crown, it will be neutralized into void magic, and dispersed by the void ward. Is that answer sufficient? Star nods after writing everything down. Yeah, that question is answered. Another question is, since you implied that the wards may kill Jet once they're activated, that is, if no other method of using them is found, what would they do to me? I have been wearing her crown a while, so she is kind of a part of me in some way. Star looks worried for this answer, hoping it isn't the outcome she's thinking. She furrowed her brow and looked at Star. Her eyes flickered, and then she placed her hands into her pockets and then shrugged. You'll be fine, she said. Her influence on your soul is light. You might feel ill for a while, but your soul will recover pretty soon after. Star wrote down the information and breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I'll be honest with you about something since you're answering so many of my questions. Back when I visited the Snow Queen, she offered me a place to stay within her land. After thinking about it a while, I decided to reject her offer. I'm happy here with Golden and Cass. She pets him to show just how happy she is with him. I plan on telling her that in person. Anyway, where are the supplies for the wards kept? I want to help you build them, even if it will inevitably make me sick. She laughs nervously. Haven't gathered them yet. she said, shrugging again. Still trying to work out a way to keep it from killing Jet. Most of her soul is being supported by the Queen's magic, so this change is not going to be very good for her health short term. She grimaced at the thought. I've begun to formulate a plan to fix that, but it's a little risky. I'm not fond of it. I'll do what I have to keep her alive, but it will not be enjoyable for me. I'm glad to hear you've decided to stick around. Be careful when she finds out, because I don't know if she'll like that. Star writes down a few details. Yeah, I figured she won't. I'll be careful. I think that's everything I want to know about the wards. On another topic, if you know, Emuna is a Harbinger, correct? I remember finding a bunch of graves while flying around one day for a bunch of other Harbingers. I read their stories. Why were the Harbingers created, and why were they targeted so heavily? A Harbinger, by definition, is something or someone that foreshadows a future event, whether it be good or bad. So they must have been created by Mojave for a reason. I understand if you don't know, though, since it is more of a Mojave question. Star tilts her head in curiosity. I'm not entirely sure, she admitted. I haven't really asked him. From what I understood, they were meant to be some sort of family members for him. He was run out of his home sort of abruptly, so perhaps he missed his people. She shrugged. But they, as I understand, looked sort of monstrous looking at times, and a lot of bad things happened to the people of these lands. Some were targeted by those who followed Pyrrhus, the fallen god, simply because they were made by Mojave. Others fell victim to wrong place, wrong time, and were targeted due to their appearance in conjunction with what seems to the people of the time as unfortunate events following them. Star writes down these new details and looks up somberly, understanding the pain of being targeted just because you're different. Her ears droop and her tail wraps around her slightly. I see. Star clears her throat after a moment, recollecting herself. Back on the topic of the wards, if I have this right, if one were to be built to my land, it would just make me sick for a bit? That's it? Star looks a bit confused, unsure if that is really all there is to the wards, seeing as they have a good chance of killing Jet. I suppose that depends, she said with a shrug. There are two main types of wards, repel and absorb. I'd likely use repel wards on your land. They keep things out, or in your case, it would keep the Queen's magic in. That is to say, you could leave the barrier, but the ice leaking into your little area would be contained. And when you leave, the conduit on your head would most likely cease functioning, but regain power a short time later, and you'd be ill for that duration. She gestured vaguely with her hands. When you come back, you'd feel energized as the magic that left you would re-enter your body. Star writes down this new information. I see. So if I don't want to be sick, I have to stay within my land. What if I want to visit Golden or Emuna? I'd rather not be ill when I visit them. What would happen if you put Absorb in my land? You'd be sick within an X block radius, she said with a shrug. Anytime you went near your home, your soul healed it. And anytime you went near your home, until your soul healed itself. If you want to visit Golden or Emuna, I implore you begin the healing process as soon as possible. But that may be difficult if you insist on being an ally to the Queen. Star writes down a few details and sighs. We'll see. But I just don't want to turn my back on her without a good reason. And while being ill, every time I leave may be annoying, that isn't enough. Call me stubborn if you want, but I need a better reason than what I have been given thus far. And it most likely has to come from the Queen herself. Star leans down to pet Cassiopeia. But I do know that, no matter what, I won't turn my back on my family. So you don't need to worry about that. I'm more of just a middle ground, I guess. Now, here's something I've been thinking for a bit. Back when I first talked to you and Jet, you seemed to be really trying to control Jet, or at least what she was saying. I didn't want to bring it up then, because I just wanted to get some answers. What was that about? Oh, she snorted. That wasn't Jet. I suppose the Queen decided she didn't want you to hear whatever Jet had to say, because she took control of her and fed you the answer she wanted to give you instead. She crossed her arms. They weren't incorrect. I made sure she responded to the questions with accuracy. They just weren't what Jet would have wanted to say. I felt it more interesting or beneficial to let you see what the Queen was doing, and to let you figure out what was going on later. Show you what the Queen was capable of. She inspected her nails idly, picked at something under them with the other hand. She's terribly bad at pretending to be Jet. Jet is far more erratic and flighty than the Queen could ever pull off. Star writes these details down, then she looks up, thoughtful for a moment, before returning to the conversation. I see. So she can even control people who are more affected by her magic than I am. I'll try to be more careful if I'm to ever talk to Jet again. God only knows if the Queen will ever take control. God only knows if the Queen will take control every time I try. She rubs her neck idly. I think that's everything I needed. Thanks for letting me pick your brain again. I felt bad. This has basically been the only way our interactions have gone so far. We should get together sometime to just hang out. Maybe over tea? She smiles, tail wagging lightly. She laughed a little. No worries. I'm very used to this, she said, tipping her head. Side effect of being the one who knows the most about how the world works. I'm like the wise old woman trope, except I look like I'm 25. She nodded. I appreciate the offer, though. I'm free any time, except for when I'm not. She laughed again. Truthfully, I enjoy answering questions. It's how I serve my people. When I have people to serve. Star looked confused for a moment, but returned to a pleasant smile. I'll be sure to remember that. Thanks for all the answers. Cass, let's head home. Cassiopeia barked and ran ahead, Star following close behind. And I hope you all enjoyed. That was the lore between me and Yonk. And you got a quick sneak peek of a bit of lore in an upcoming episode. Right at the end there. So, I hope you all enjoyed. There'll definitely be more of these coming. More exclusive stuff for you YouTube folk. And for you... And if you want to keep up with everything that I'm doing on Twitch, feel free to click the link in the description. If you want to support me further, feel free to subscribe on Patreon. You can do quite a few things there, aside from just plain support. So I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.